you want just the strongest, or do you want me to go through all the ones that are 5 or higher?
Your strongest one.
My strongest one is words. And then I guess the other ones that I have 5s in are music, nature, body, people, and self.
That's good. Okay, great. Anybody else?
Oh, and picture.
Oh.
It's not math.
Anybody else?
I have 2 that were highest, music and
You just ducked out of my movie.
my 2 highest were people and body.
Anybody else?
Mine were area and people.
People. Okay. Jared?
Music, people, body.
Or nature.
Okay, so in case you couldn't tell, like some of you did have similar strengths in common, but a lot of you had differences as well, and that's kind of the point, that even at this point, we all learn differently, and so that's super important at younger ages and really all the way through. Something just to keep in mind. Okay, and I want to go ahead and hit misconceptions real quickly. There are 3 listed in the book, so you can also just review that whenever you'd like. The first one is that if you've developed a specific type of intelligence, that you will excel in all things in that area, and that's just not true. You may be musically inclined and you may play an instrument, but you may not be able to sing at all, and that's perfectly normal. So just keep that in mind when you're putting together activities for your students, that even though they may have this strength, a specific activity may not work for them, and that's okay. So it's just trial and error and continuing to be flexible and changing your activities with each lesson and unit. Second one relates, it's that ability equals destiny. Just because you have a strength in that area doesn't necessarily mean that you will end up there. It's definitely possible, and that would be cool if that's the case, but just because you're good with words doesn't mean you're destined to be a poet or a journal writer, anything like that. The third one is that children must be taught every subject in 8 different ways. Again, not a plausible idea. You'll find your first couple years of teaching that it's going to be overwhelming enough as it is, so don't try to do that. I have a friend that actually graduated last year from the education program, and I talked to her about it, and the way that she generally does things is that you do incorporate a couple, whether it's 2 or 3, then you just, like Martin Oates has said, that you just need to continually trade them out and do other activities. And one more thing to remember is that just because you pick one activity doesn't mean it's just linked to one strength. You may pick an activity that involves 2 or 3. So you'll get the different strengths approaches in. Just remember to continually change them out and don't stay on the same levels of Blooms and Gardners, but Professor Martin Oates has said that several times. Okay, and I just wanted to give you guys a specific example with the research that I did of a classroom that used Gardner's theory in a reading program. They were kindergartners, and they were of different ethnic backgrounds, and socioeconomic status was low. So they were a really good group to try this with, because Gardner's theory is actually really good to use with at-risk students, just because it's a multi-sensory approach. It's a good way to gain their attention and keep it. And so what they did, and they tested with dibbles. Does anybody know what that is? Okay, well, you'll learn about it. It stands for the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. So you're testing their skills. I can't remember how often it is, but they did it a few times during the 10-week period. And it actually, on the front of it, has a graph that you plot their scores. So you have a visual representation of how their progress is moving along throughout the semester or the year, however long you track it. So they use that as their method of recording everything. And so they focused on phonemic awareness, word use fluency, nonsense word fluency, because they were all low scores with their reading skills. And so they took stories every week, and then they changed the stories and read them in different ways. Like they did chanting one day, and they did the felt board. They did pieces, the felt pieces, and put them in order and fill out scenes from the story. They talked about it. They did pantomime and character imagery. And so they even, the teacher dressed up one week, and then they did group role plays and puppets to act out stories. So they really did a good job of incorporating all of the intelligences over the 10 weeks, and the results were awesome. The treatment group, or the group that was tested, they scored like 13.79 points higher than the rest of the students in our age group in the area, and so it was a significant result, which is good, and it just shows you how well this can use when you incorporate it.
Oh, mine was activities. I had to find activities that would either address or not address certain learnings, and I'll explain that further. Okay, now it's your guys' turn. Okay, I guess I can explain now. What you guys are going to do is everybody's been assigned a different age group and a different form of learning, one of the 8. Your job, the first job, is to figure out what form it is, and then tell one of us, and then the next thing is to figure out how you're going to teach it. We provided Play-Doh, Altoids, worksheets, and if you have questions with us, we'll be free to help you. Now you're going to ask how you're going to get into the groups. If you flip over the PowerPoint on the last page, in the upper corner, there's a number. It's the very last, back page. Back page. There's a number in the upper corner. There should be 8, and we might have to make some adjustments because one person's not here throwing everything off. So can I have people for station 1 right here? Ready, we've got 1. Okay. Don't turn that over, please. Station 2 up here. Station 3. We're going to make you over here. Station 4. Back here. I'm going to try to make you drink. Station 4. 5. Over here. 7.
Pandering.
6. It's kind of hard to make it like a small. And then 8 is back here. Oh, wait. Okay, so wait. 6, 7, 8. Okay. I'm sorry. Going good. How are you? Oh, Alex, will you go to golf?
I think so.
From here, go with Alex, please. This is one. Okay, you guys have 15 minutes max to come up with both topics, and then at the end, you guys are going to present it and why did it work and why did it didn't work. You have 5 minutes to figure out which one you have. If it takes you more than 5 minutes, flag one of us because we want to help you. We don't want you guys to fail. So, all right, go.